What's up guys, welcome back. Today we have a very long awaited automation that is automated lead generation and cold outreach. This is a very powerful workflow that will essentially give you a Google Sheet filled with leads like so. You will get things such as their full name, email, phone, job title, department, seniority, LinkedIn, company they work with, the industry, the company size, the company website, company description, company LinkedIn, lead score, lead status, score reason, recommended actions, and then all the details for when the emails were sent, what the email actually is based on the personalized email system, outreach status, there are even follow-ups and so on. It is extremely powerful. You can do tons of different leads and have this running all on autopilot for you. Now I want to preface this video by saying depending where you are from, you might have different cold email outreach laws. So for example, for me in Canada, I can't just get a lead list and just start spamming people with cold outreach. You need to actually get permission from them first. So I just highly recommend looking at what your laws are so you aren't doing anything against guidelines. Also, these are real leads in here, so don't go start cold outreaching these leads that you're seeing right here. This is just for demonstration purposes. So let me just show you this working in action before I actually show you how to set it up. I'll delete all of the leads and everything that we see here. So this is a completely empty sheet, and there are three separate sections. The first one is the actual lead generation module. So this will get all of the leads. Essentially how this works is you get a form that will give you different industries that you can choose for the leads you want, the seniority levels, what country they're from, let's say United States, the city, which is optional, so let's say New York, company minimum and maximum size, minimum score for qualified leads, so let's just say 7. And then you have the target ICP description, so this is where you'll actually describe what kind of person you want, such as decision makers at a marketing company. Now in our automation for the form, I just have data pinned. So you will see this pinned here. You will just click unpin right here, which will allow you to actually fill out the form. In this case, I just have sample data, so I don't have to keep using the form. Same thing with like the contacts we're searching and some other stuff here. So just make sure when you actually go to run this, you unpin it. So now that we know that I've already selected all of these metrics, when we execute the workflow, this will go through, it will score the leads, put them all into a Google Sheet and find them as well. And then in a second here, we'll see this populate. There we go. So now we get all of these different leads here, and you can see there's a ton of details. Now there's this email section and follow-up section. So this is the next part of the workflow. So now we can execute this part here. So this is where you choose what parts you want to execute. We actually have this on a trigger, so this will follow up for you, but let's just say we execute this. This will actually start sending emails and composing emails based on what that person is. So it is personalized. Now you should know this for this workflow. We have a section here that just does draft emails for us because these are real leads. I don't want to be spamming people with emails right now. When you build this workflow, you're gonna switch this node over to send email and not create draft email. Essentially what this is doing is every 45 seconds, it will send a new email so we don't overwhelm the API. And it will start loading this sheet. It'll tell us exactly what the email is, the subject, and so on. Let's just stop this in the meantime. And then finally, our follow-up flow. So same thing, you can execute this. This will just do email follow-ups, and it's all personalized, fully automated for you. Pretty cool. We're using Lusha for this, which is essentially a lead generation method that we're using. Now, with that being said, let's talk about how this automation works. First of all, we have some documentation for you. So this is like all of your required sheet columns that you need. You can get the Google Sheet here. When you get here, you just want to make a copy of this. Any credential details are also listed here for you if you need to reference those. So first of all, in the workflow, this is our ICP form trigger. So like I said, just unpin this, and when you hit execute, that will actually bring up the steps. So if I show you that here, and I click execute, this will bring up your form. This is how you're gonna search your leads. However, I'll just keep this pinned in the meantime. This goes into an ICP interpreter. So this code node here just has all of the IDs for everything under seniority and industry, and these are required for the endpoints that are used in Lusha. So Lusha is the API we'll be using to essentially search for the contacts. So here's Lusha. Lusha is phenomenal. It scrapes a ton of information off the internet, and you can get the API here as well. So you'll want to generate your API key, and then we'll be putting that back into our n8n automation. The method for our HTTP request is post, and our authorization type will be header auth, and then you just want to select your authentication here. So if you edit this, this is where you'll put your API key in. Just make sure the name is API_key in lowercase, and then this is where you'll paste it in. The only downside to Lusha is that you do have to use a business email to sign up. So if you don't have that, you will need it. I highly recommend getting a business email if you're running a business regardless. And then to start, you also get 40 free credits. Now for the URL endpoint, this is what we're hitting in the Lusha node. This will be already set up for you, so no need to change that. And this is what everything here should look like. As we can see, see, this is all of our input from the ICP interpreter, and then here is our output. Once again, for all these nodes where you see this purple pin here, you'll just want to unpin them when you're actually going to use it. Then we just have a has results node here. This is just checking there is actually results. So if it's greater than 0, it will go into true. If not, it will just tell us that there are no leads found. And then this will simply just go into a completion message, just telling you that there are no leads. Then we have extract contact IDs. This is just pulling all of our contact IDs and outputting contact IDs, request IDs, and so on. There is no need to change anything here. This will all be set up for you. The next part of this is to enrich the contacts, because as you can see, the input here is complete gibberish. So we're essentially using this endpoint here. So this will be in here for you. Once again, you want to make sure this is set up to your credential type. So header authorization, generic credential type. And then we have our contact ID here, and then all the enriched data is their name, full name, tons of information on them, such as their email, phone number, and so on. And there is a lot of info, even their LinkedIn. So Lusha is really good at getting data. And if you're not familiar, enriching a contact is essentially just getting a ton more data than you already have. Now all we're doing is essentially just extracting the contacts. This is just taking everything that we got from Lusha, and then we're taking this and then outputting this all into different contacts. Now all of these contacts are in one item, as we can see. So we have a split node. So this will split up the contacts, and then we extract all of the contacts. So this is just taking everything from Lusha and then outputting it. But as you can see, it is just in one JavaScript object. So we have a split contacts node here, and this will just split it into different objects. Once again, both of these you don't have to change, these are already done for you. These will take all of the different items. So as you can see, one item will go in and then 25 will spit out, and then it goes all into an AI lead scoring. So we have a user message that is prompted to essentially analyze the lead and score them against the target ICP. So we have their contact ID, name, title, department, seniority, all this data. This is just what it is taking. So these are all the dynamic fields. And then as we can see, this is the system prompt here. We're prompting it with, it is a AI lead qualification agent. It'll score them on a scale of 1 to 10 based on ICP fit. So essentially if the ICP match has the exact title, industry, company size, then it's a strong match, and it will score it based on these factors. You can go in here and change this to however you want. And then it is telling us how we should return the JSON object as well. So as we can see in the output, we get the scored leads. They have a reason as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that is our agent we're using. We're using Claude 3.5 Sonnet for this. So make sure you do set this up with your credentials in here. And that goes for all other LLM usage in this entire automation. So now we take the output of all of these 25 items now that they are scored, and then we have prepare data for sheet. This will essentially just take everything that we got and then format it so it's being mapped to our Google Sheet. And then in our Google Sheet node here, you will want to hook this up with your credentials. This will be sheet within document, and then under document, you will have to change it from Lusha leads, which is what it will be when you download this, to whatever copy you make of the Google Sheet that we give you. And then from list, it will be leads. It'll be mapping each column manually. This will be already set up for you, but this is what it will look like. Once again, the output here, you can just drag any of these into the proper section if it's not set up. And there we go. You'll get a message basically just telling you that it has successfully processed the leads. All of the leads will be dumped into here. So the next part is to now figure out what we want to do with these leads. But it is pretty insane that we get all this information for us. This is our initial outreach flow. This will send a personalized AI generated email to all of the qualified leads. It'll run daily at whatever time you want, so you can change this in here, obviously. So the first thing we're gonna do here is read all of our leads. So once again, you wanna make sure this is with your credentials, proper sheet and everything. Just leave this exactly as it is once you change your credential. So the first thing we have is a schedule trigger. So you can set this for whatever time you want to send. So if we execute this part here, this will read all of the leads. It will compose the email that will be personalized. And then, like I said earlier, this is just going to a draft email right now. So you will have this to actually send the email. But if you're testing your workflow, keep this on draft email. Otherwise, it will start spamming people with emails, and you do not want that right now. So every single lead, it will wait 45 seconds for. This is so you just don't overwhelm the API. But as you can see, we got the first one here. You'll see that we get things like the email subject, the body of the email right here, and then the status and so on. So we'll wait 45 seconds and then generate you another email. It will just have a timer for this whole lead list. So this will slowly start to fill up and send emails as we go. So that's how it works. So let's just talk about how to set this up real quick. First of all, you have your read leads. You can leave this exactly as is, but essentially what this is doing is just getting all of the leads. You will set this up to your credentials once again, and it should look like this. This will then go into a filter, which will decide which emails are ready for initial outreach. You don't have to change anything here. This will limit it to 20 emails per day, just so you do not hit any email sending limits or have any deliverability issues or get flagged for spam and so on. I highly recommend looking into email deliverability because you can actually increase this number the more emails you send. You just have to build email reputation. So just leave this for 20 at the start. But as you start to increase your email deliverability, this can increase. This will loop the emails now. So this will just basically do different batches. So we'll do one at a time, and then that'll wait basically 45 seconds here until it does another one. This will compose the email. We're using Claude 3.5 Sonnet for this once again. So set up your credential inside of here to whatever yours is. This is where you're gonna update your prompt. So this is your value proposition in the prompt. So here is our user message. So this essentially what it's doing is crafting an icebreaker. So it's personalized based on that detail of the contact. So we have our contact info here, we have the company info, we have the lead context, and then this is where you're gonna put your value proposition. So for example, this is just a complete demonstration. I help business owners reclaim 15 to 20 hours per week, blah, blah, blah. Email requirements, this is where we just basically tell it what we want. So you can change this as well. So like subject line will be like short, curiosity driven, no spam words, the opening, so on. Now, this is very plain. Like, I think that if you want to send actually good emails, there are very unique ways you can do it. I'm not gonna turn this into an email marketing course, but if you guys would ever be interested in that, just let me know, because I've sent a lot of cold emails before. So this is kind of where you design the email to actually be good. Here we have the actual system prompt. This is just where we tell you you're an expert B2B sales copywriter, write personalized cold emails with an icebreaker that feel human and get response, and so on. Once again, you can come change this in here to really fit how you want it to output. And then this will basically just output all of the items to prepare email data. So this is just taking our recipient email, the subject, email body, and so on, preparing this to be sent in our Gmail node. In the Gmail node, once again, you'll have to make sure this is set up with your Gmail credentials. The operation we'll be doing is creating, and then we will have, from the output previously, we will have our email subject. You can just find this here or in here, and then just drag this in. This is already in here for you. We'll have the actual message. So this is previously generated to be the email body, and then, the to email. Now, obviously, the send email will actually be in here. So this will be kind of the same thing, but it's actually going to send it. So the operation will be send, whereas in this one, it's just going to be create, and the resource will be draft. So this one will be a different resource, obviously. It will be message, not draft. So when you're ready to send your emails, just do this and connect this up and this up, like so. I'm not gonna do that just because I don't wanna send any emails right now and get flagged for spam. And then finally, this will update the Google Sheet. So it will basically just take everything and it will update the row. Again, you'll want to change this to whatever sheet that you're using or you named the copied sheet to. From the list will be the leads, and these will be all the mapping columns that will already be set up for you. So as it goes, it will essentially just output all of the details as it sends. And then finally, it'll wait 45 seconds. That's just, we already talked about that. That's just to loop it. Lastly, we have the follow-up sequence. Now I've only set this to actually 1 hour after the initial message. So I recommend changing this to something like 8 hours or something. Or you could do a full day later, but this is just what we have it set up as right now. Now, after the schedule trigger, this will basically get all of our leads. This will read all of them from our CRM sheet. Don't change anything here. And then the filter here is essentially just if it is due for follow-up. And we know this based on outreach status, so these are all waiting for a reply, so it will follow up. Essentially, again, we're limiting it to 10 follow-ups. We will loop them again with a wait timer of 45 seconds. Now, this is our compose follow-up. Essentially what it is a follow-up email for the lead who hasn't replied. Again, we're giving it all the contact info and also the previous outreach data. So we'll know the context of the subject, the original email, the send date, and follow-up number as well. This is our value proposition. So again, you need this to be relevant to you. And here are your follow-up requirements that you can tweak. But again, change the sign-off because we have this set to something specific. So this will be you. So that's where you'll change it. And then you'll want to do that in the original one too, for the initial email. Now in our AI here, we also have the system message. So this is where you'll edit that. This will prepare all the follow-up data. So pretty much the same as before. You'll have all of your information in here that is outputted from your AI. We will have draft a follow-up email. We'll be drafting an email. Again, you'll change this to actually message when you're doing the real thing. And then we have our fields here like our subject, message, and so on. And then once again, we'll just send this to update to our Google Sheet. You'll change this to the proper Google Sheet with your credentials. And these are all the fields that we'll be sending. This will all be in here for you already. And that's essentially it. So that will send all the emails and update it all to your CRM Google Sheet here. We'll basically get all of the details of the person. We'll have the initial email sequencing, and then we'll have the following up. So, and it will tell you all of the info and so on. Now we also have a dashboard down here. So this is where we have our lead gen details. So we'll have things such as our total leads, unqualified leads, qualification rate, average lead score. We can have leads by our industries. We can have recommended actions here as well. We have leads by the seniority, our outreach summary. We also have an outreach status reference as well. This and our ID reference are just what we're using in the actual automation to reference our IDs. I just wouldn't change any of these personally. And there we have it. So that is our system that we use to find a bunch of leads with a ton of great detail, outreach to them with personalized messages, and follow up with them, putting them into your Google Sheet CRM. You can pretty much just keep running this and change the amount of leads you actually want to get. And then as you increase your Gmail limits, you can start running this on a more mass scale. Now, what's so powerful about this workflow is it's great for yourself because it's such a good way to get leads for your AI agency. It just comes down to how good you are at writing cold emails. I recommend looking into that. Now you can also sell this to a variety of businesses, almost any business that has some sort of acquisition process that happens over emails. And what's really cool is you can sell this with a variety of different pricing models at enterprise pricing, depending on your branding. So there's 4 pricing models I recommend. The first is your kind of simple SaaS subscription. So this would simply have different tiers of pricing based on the amount of leads that they get to generate per month. So for example, you could do $497 per month and then they get 100 leads per month. And note that that would be qualified leads. Or you could have a professional package from like 800 to 1,000 per month. This would be up to 500 qualified leads per month. You could also add on 3 different follow-up sequences if you continue the follow-up process and duplicate it. You could have things like a weekly strategy call added onto this as well. Or you could do enterprise, which could be upwards of $3,000 per month. This is what I would sell it at. This would be unlimited leads as long as they actually cover all of the costs on their end when it comes to things like APIs or software that they're using. You could have some sort of white label option included as well, or have different custom integrations based on other softwares that they're using, and then have a dedicated account manager which can help them tweak this over time. Now, the second pricing model you could go for would be a one-time setup with a monthly management fee. So you could do a one-time cost of around $5,000 upfront, and then $500 per month to manage it for them, any tweaks that they need, and then maintain this automation. Note that in most models, the actual cost that they're paying monthly would be independent of what they'd have to pay for things like their API or the softwares used in this stack. Now, here's another one of my favorite models. This is called the performance-based model, where it depends on what results they get. So it could be $997 per month to run this thing and basically do all their maintenance for them. And then they would pay for things such as qualified appointments or even closed deals. So you could do like $50 to $100 per closed call, or you could even do up to $1,000 if they actually close that deal as well. And then the fourth pricing model, you could simply just change the price based on industry. So for example, if it's like healthcare or finance that has a lot higher compliance standards, you could charge much higher for something like this. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps with this automation. I hope you guys get some good value and I hope you make some money from this. And as always, if you need any support with this, feel free to hit us in our technical support chat and we'll be happy to help you with anything that you need. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.